So we are going to be multiplying fractions. Remember, you need to always reduce your fractions. And it's going to say simplest form. Simplest form, or simplify, means to put it in its reduced form. I always like to cancel if you can. Have you heard that? Cancel if you can. It's kind of like, isn't it on Snow White? Yeah. That will make your life a little easier. If you cannot cancel, the rule for multiplying fractions is multiplying straight across the numerators and straight across the denominators. Denominators, right? Is that right? Yes? Okay. So number 1 says 5/12 times negative 3/20. Well, positive times a negative is negative. You can take 5 times 3 and 12 times 20, but your life will not be easier that way, will it? We can cancel numerator to denominator, or the other numerator and the other denominator. You can cancel if it was, let's say you had 6/12. Couldn't you reduce a fraction also? Does anything go into both 5 and 20? Tessa?
5.
5 becomes then what?
1.
And 20?
4.
Anything else cancel? Well, look at 3 goes into 12, doesn't it? So the 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. Over 4 times 4 is... How many of you think that seems a lot easier to cancel if you can? Because if not, then you've got to multiply straight across, and sometimes what happens is you multiply wrong. I know it's crazy to think that, but next one, 7/16 times 5/14. And remember, if they are mixed numbers, what do we do to mixed numbers before we can multiply them?
Around the world.
Mixed numbers, you got to make them what?
Improper numbers.
Yep. If they're mixed numbers, you've got to make them improper first. All right, so anything cancel on these? Yep, 7 and 14, right? 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Nothing else cancels, does it? So go straight across, and my final answer will be 5/32. How many of you remember doing this in elementary school? Isn't this a lot easier than adding and subtracting fractions? Way easier. I'm going to start by writing 2.5, and it's gallons per minute, right? This is very important to know how to do because they're not always this easy. Well, we're going to multiply that by 7 minutes. What happens to my minutes in the numerator and my minutes in the denominator? Jared? They cancel out. So we know our final label is going to be gallons. So now what we have to do is take 2.5 times 7. Well, here's where we just talked about it. Sam said go around the world. It's actually called making them an improper fraction. Everybody remembers how to do that, right? 2 times 2 is plus 1. So it's really 5/2 times 7 over what? 7's a rational number. So it can be written as a fraction. It's 7/1. Does anything cancel? No. So we get 35 over 2, but does that make sense? We use 35 over 2 gallons. Make it a mixed number. What do you get? Jackson? 17.5 gallons. If you estimate the answer, -3 1/5 is close to -3, correct? Times 4 1/6 is close to 4. What is -3 times 4? Well, it's -12. So you know your answer has to be close to -12. So go ahead and make them both improper. And we get -5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16 over 5 times 6 times 4 is 24 plus 1 is 25 over 6. Okay. Does anything cancel? Yeah, the 5 becomes a 1, 25 becomes 5. Anything cancel between 16 and 6? Is there a common factor, Jared?
2.
Take a 2 out of each of those. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, so when we go straight across, negative times a positive is a negative. We get 40 over 3. And I will tell you that if it's not a story problem like the one before it, this is a reduced improper fraction, isn't it? I will let you leave it like that if you want. Or if you change it and you divide, you would get negative what? Sam?
13 and a third.
13 and a third. So either one of those works. Okay, you guys do number 5. So it's 47 over 9 times 6 over 1. If it was 6 over 6, that would reduce to 1, right? Anything cancel? Do you see a common factor in any of these? Hannah?
6 and 9 is 3.
Take a 3 out, right? So Hannah, what's the 6 become?
That's
2,
2.
and the 9 is a
3.
3. Multiply straight across. What do you get?
94 over 3.
94 over 3. If you want to leave it like that, that is fine. Anybody change it into a mixed number? Tessa Ortman?
31 and 1/3.
31 and 1/3. How many of you got one of those two answers? Yep. Number 6. Okay, we make them both improper. We have -11 over 4 times 16 over 3. You know a negative times a positive is a negative. And I see a 4 goes into both of those, right? So when you multiply straight across, you get -44 over 3. What is it if you change it into a mixed number? Maria? -14 and 2/3. So either one of these is acceptable. I can go ahead and put a 1 there if I want to. I know it's a positive times a negative, so I'm going to get a negative answer. And I still look for a common factor that I can cancel. Notice 4 and 10 both share a 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now I can multiply straight across. 1m times 5 is 5m over 2 times 7 is 14. Remember, we do not change into mixed numbers when they have variables, right? We talked about that yesterday. All right, so look at number 8. Number 8 says n to the 4th over 12 times 9n squared over 10. You have got to remember the rules from last chapter. Look at, there's a 1 there. It's a positive times a positive, so it's a positive. What's the common factor between 12 and 9? 3. So 12 divided by 3 is? 9 divided by 3 is? Multiply the numbers, the coefficients. 1 times 3 is 3. Now we have n to the 4th times n squared. Those are the same bases and they are being multiplied. What does the rule say that we do to their exponents? Add them together. So n to the 4th plus, or n to the 4 plus 2 is n to the 6th. All over 4 times 10 is 40. That is your final answer. You guys try number 9. Check your work. I'm going to look at this and I say 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 8 4 times. Nothing else canceled. So 1x times 3x squared is 3x what? No, there's a 1 there, right? It's not squared. 1 plus 2 is 3. All over 5 times 4 is 20. How many of you got that answer? Good. Look at number 10. So negative times positive is a negative. 4 becomes a 116. 5 becomes a 15. Okay, 1y to the 3rd times 1y to the 6th gives me negative 1y to the what? 9th. You add the exponents all over 12. Okay, we can also write this as negative y to the 9th over 12. What do we do first on number 11? Jackson? What?
You add 5 over 11 and 5 over 22.
What do you guys think? Do you add first? Order of operations, right? You multiply first. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 over 11. That has to drop down. Plus, I'm going to cancel a 2 out of each of these, right? That's 11. That's a 4. So I've got negative 20 over, what's 11 times 33? Sam?
363.
363. 363 is going to be the common denominator because we had to take 11 times 33. So we have to multiply each, the 5 and the 11 by what number? 33. So what is 5 times 33, Camden?
165.
So this is 165 over 363 plus negative 20 over 363. And you get a final answer of 145 over 363. Anybody have that answer? Alrighty. So remember in last chapter when we were multiplying these together? The rule when you multiply is you add, but this time it's division. So what we need to do is to divide these two. We're going to take 7.2 divided by 3.6 times, what is the rule when we're dividing bases that are the same, Hudson? Yep, and we take the numerator's exponent, which is 5, and we subtract the denominator's exponent, which is 3. Okay? So when we do that, 7.2 divided by 3.6, well, we have to move that decimal and that decimal, right? So don't we get 2 times 10 to the 2nd power. Now, is 2 in between 1 and 10? So we're good. What if I had 20 times 10 to the 2nd? Would you keep it like that? No, you'd have to change that. Okay?